We live in a world that is very visually stimulating, and we're constantly looking at screens. We're constantly being bombarded with all kinds of images and things to draw our attention and distract us and pull us out of the moment. And there's a lot of people I know who are really looking for ways to have more mindfulness in life, and just to experience life more in the present. One of the things that I always go back to over and over again is looking at how human biology, how our brains, how our nervous systems actually developed alongside nature. And really, if we look at the human system, what is it really designed to do when it's functioning at its peak efficiency, at its peak level? It's designed to survive in the wild, and that also gives us one of the keys to actually finding mindfulness. There's a lot of techniques and meditations and things that are taught by people from a more modern perspective. But if we look at nature, we can actually find the original mindfulness exercise in nature. I remember when I was in high school, I frequently would have the experience of sitting around with friends, and they would be talking about something that happened recently, something that I was present for, and I couldn't remember what they were talking about. Like, I had a vague recollection of, that I was there, but the kinds of details that other people were remembering about that situation, it just didn't even occur to me at the time. And it became really apparent to me that I was sort of, as I was moving through life, I wasn't really experiencing life with the kind of quality that I wanted to have. And it was one of the reasons why I actually sought out going to a sit spot in nature and doing exercises and activities to open up my awareness and actually get grounded in the moment. Because in nature, things happen really fast. If you want to do bird language, or if you want to do tracking, or even to identify plants and just notice what the plants are doing in a landscape, if you let your awareness drop for even a moment, you will miss so much. And so really, nature and like a wilderness survival situation is really where the human sensory system has the greatest demands. And because of those demands, it also brings us very much into the present. And so what I wanted to do today is share just a couple of exercises from two different angles using the visual sense. This is one of the simplest ways to get started, that if you want to have a nature-based mindfulness practice that you can do really anywhere. The best place to do this is outside, obviously, even in your lawn with just some trees and birds hanging around. But I've also done this just sitting in an airport waiting for a plane, and you can still do it because it's not about the location that you go to, it's really about how you're using your senses. And so there are simple practices that we can do on a regular basis that exercise our senses in a very similar way to like when you do physical exercise to build your body, make yourself stronger. You can actually make your senses stronger. And one of the most overworked and overstimulated areas of the human nervous system is the visual sense. We're constantly being bombarded by all these images and distractions. And if you want to kind of reset all of that nervous energy and just get yourself centered in the moment, if you find yourself bouncing around a lot from thing to thing, being very distracted, unable to just focus in one place, these exercises will be very helpful for you. Or if you find that you have like memory gaps where you're sort of walking down the street and then you suddenly find yourself at your destination and you don't really remember how you got there. Those last 5 minutes, you obviously got there, and you got there safely, but you missed everything that happened on the way. So I like to look at this from two different angles. There's two different angles that we can approach this from. Typically, meditations that use the visual sense, they will either expand your visual sense out, or they will focus your visual sense in. And really, what I have found to work best is when you do both. So the first one is just to use your peripheral vision. As people, we have the ability to use our entire visual field. Even when we're not directly staring at something, we can still see when it's there. And this happens all the time in nature. If you have your peripheral vision activated, you'll see a bird fly by. You won't directly look at it, but you know it's a robin because you can't really see the details of things that are in your peripheral vision, but you can see the general size, the general shape. You can see that there's movement there, and that's really the trigger for peripheral vision is movement. It's a visual sense that's based on movement. So if we want to activate our peripheral vision, it's actually one of the simplest things that we can do. And if you find yourself in this sort of distracted mode, putting yourself into peripheral vision will instantly shift your state. It'll put you into a more relaxed and expanded focus and help you just get really present in the moment. And so the way to do this is just to focus your eyes on a point out in front of you. And you can pick a tree, you can pick a plant, you can, or you can just sort of let your gaze hover in the horizon. That's difficult for some people, but with practice you can do that as well. Once you have that point of focus, you want to expand your visual sense outwards. So you want to put your awareness on the surrounding space all the way out to the edges of your visual field. So a great way to do this is to actually put your hand out and kind of wiggle your fingers, because remember, one of the trigger for peripheral vision is movement. And so if you move your fingers and find the point where you can no longer see that movement, and what you're trying to do is you're looking for the edge of your visual field and the edge of what you can perceive with your eyes. And when you do this, it's actually pretty big. It's a big oval space, and it's really only the very center of your visual field that you can actually do detail things like read, and most of your color perception is in the center of your visual field. But around the edges, you can still see lots of stuff. And so you tune in with where the edge of your visual field is, and just sit there with that open awareness, and just, breathe. You can kind of trace your awareness around the edge. Just kind of go in circles one way, go in circles the other way. And the way you'll know that you're doing this correctly is if your awareness will move, you'll be able to perceive things happening in the outside of your visual field, but your eyes will not be moving, and your eyes will be still in their sockets, and that tells you that you're using your peripheral vision. I like to do little games with it too, just to sort of continue to build that awareness. I found this really helpful when I was first starting out. Just move your head from side to side. I call this the security camera. Just imagine that you're like a security camera, and keeping your eyes still, you're just going to swivel your head, and it'll look like a big oval sort of moving from side to side. So you can see when I move my camera like this, it creates that sense of movement in the background. That's kind of what it'll look like. You can also play with doing it more in circles, so move your head in circles. And what this does is it creates that little bit of movement in the edges of your peripheral vision that activates the more subtle aspects of your visual field. It also takes focus. It takes focus in order to hold your attention in this way. And what you'll find is that when you're focusing on peripheral vision, it's very hard to be distracted and stressed out and thinking about all kinds of other things that you have to do in your day. And, just set aside like 5 minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes every day to practice this. If you can practice it in your backyard or in a natural place, that would be awesome. Like, I think you would find really amazing benefits from doing that. Over time, you'll find that your visual field actually gets sharper. Your peripheral vision gets sharper, and when things dart through your peripheral vision, you instantly pick up on it. It'll get to the point where you will actually start to perceive things with your peripheral vision that you weren't perceiving before. And you'll be perceiving things that most people don't actually see. It's amazing how much people miss. I'll be walking along a trail with somebody and I'll see squirrels and birds, and things will dart by, and I'll say, "Oh, wait, did you see that bird that just flew by?" And they'll say, "No, I didn't see that." So this is why in a survival situation, when humans were living really close to nature and were dependent on nature for all our food and survival needs, this was an essential skill. Like, mindfulness was an essential survival skill at those times. And in order for us to really maximize our mindfulness in the modern world, we need to actually practice this stuff. And so practice your peripheral vision. The other exercise that I want to give you goes more into the detail, going into a memory-based focus, the ability to actually remember the experiences that we have and see what's actually in front of us. And so for this one, as you're sitting there at your sit spot, whether it's in your backyard or out in the forest or next to a river, you can do this anywhere you want. You can even do it in an airport if you're waiting for a plane. It's a good use of time in that case because you have nothing else to do. Simply look at the scene that's in front of you and really look at it. There's a difference between the way that most people navigate their surroundings and the quality of visual awareness that they bring compared to when you actually put intention into looking. So really look at your surroundings. What are you actually seeing in front of you? What is there? What can you see? What can you look at? And just spend a few moments studying that landscape in front of you. Then close your eyes and imagine that scene. Notice what you saw. Visualize it. Just see what you saw and see how clearly it is in your mind. How clear is that image now as you try to remember it in your mind? And just do that for a few moments. And in most cases, unless you've actually practiced this already, or if you're a highly visual person who naturally has that skill, the image in your mind will probably not be all that clear. So then open your eyes again and notice how much more you see the second time. And this is really the key, that when you open your eyes, you'll see it more clearly. And study it again for a few moments. Just keep looking around, keep studying, noticing that tree that you were looking at. We'll look at it even closer. Do that for a few moments and then close your eyes. And notice how much more clear your image is now. And you can actually see things and remember little details and visualize that scene more clearly. Then open your eyes again and do it again. Study that scene, look at what's around you. You can even do this with your peripheral vision, combining the two exercises together, and until you can almost internalize that landscape in your mind. So you can close your eyes and you can actually see that landscape in front of you as it was when you had your eyes open. And these two exercises together will bring you into the moment. They will stretch your visual sense, and with practice you'll get better and better at opening your visual sense and finding that connection to the original human mindfulness exercise that really humans have been doing this for tens of thousands of years. It's a part of what we are, and it's a part of what our nervous system is designed to do. And that's why it brings us to a state of centeredness. It brings us to a state of peace, and it helps us just overall have more access to the full potential of our brain and nervous system. So I hope you found this interesting. It's, just a really fun exercise to practice. I've been doing it for a really long time, and I'm still continuing to go deeper with it. And so I think if you give it a try, you'll find it really helpful too. I can tell you that the more I practiced these two exercises together, and started to take that time every day to just focus on my visual awareness and have that time of mindfulness, I started to find that it became easier and easier for me to just naturally do this in my everyday life. And I started to actually remember my experiences. I was really experiencing life and present in life in a way that I hadn't been before. So then now when people sit around and reminisce about memories and experiences that we've had, I often have a very clear memory, and I often can remember details that a lot of other people can't remember. And it's because I have practiced and brought myself into the moment. So you can do the same thing, and I think you'll really enjoy it. It's really a lot of fun. Get out there, stretch your visual sense open, exercise that memory, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.